everybody. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. Today we are in, if I say it right, Schaghticoke. I said it right. Yes, we are here in Schaghticoke, New York, in Rensselaer County, New York. Thank you all for watching. Those of you who are watching, and thank you for everyone who came today. I really appreciate what we're talking about here. One of the most important pieces here is how do we repair things? Now, crazy question or crazy concept. When stuff goes wrong, what does the average politician say? Let's pass a law. Makes sense. Something else they say, how are we going to raise money? Now, often they won't say taxes. They'll say is revenue. That's the phrase they'll use is revenue. So how do we raise revenue? It's almost always taxes, fines, or fees, which means either you raise taxes, or if taxes aren't good enough, we now use law enforcement as a profit center. And now our law enforcement isn't actually saving people, helping people. They've now become a profit center. They're just taking your money now. And it isn't that a cop wants to do that. So the cop is now tasked to do that because some governor, some mayor, some local legislator says, I can't get taxes passed, so I'll punish people another way and I'll start getting fines and fees and these types of things. Happens all the time. But Larry, don't we have to have money? Doesn't someone have to build the roads and build the bridges, right? The libertarians, my roads, right? How do you deal with my roads, right? What do you do? But if you remember when I was running for governor, I actually brought up an important idea. I brought the idea of raising money through ways other than taxation. Why would I think that? I would think that because I'm an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, when I can't make money, when things aren't going well, when a crash hits, I don't just go, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna tax my customers more because I can. I will demand they pay me more or I'll put them in jail. You can't do that as an entrepreneur. You gotta figure out what you have and try to make more money from it. You gotta figure out what you have and try to provide more value so that people wanna pay for it. And I ran for governor, remember, I brought the idea of building infrastructure and building bridges and such by leasing out naming rights to bridges. Anybody remember that idea? Yes. Right, so instead of it being the Mario Cuomo bridge, instead of it being that, instead it could be the Pepsi bridge or the Google bridge or anything like that. Well, the first people say is, oh, you're privatizing bridges. No, I'm a business guy. I'm not gonna give up my asset. I retain the asset and I lease out the naming rights. That's what I do. I lease out naming rights so that now every year, every 2 years, they're gonna pay us 10, 20, $100 million. Larry, is someone gonna pay $100 million for a bridge in New York? They pay $20 million for a stadium that's used on the weekends. I'm talking about a bridge in a New York City metropolitan area that has 16 million people in the metro area, used every day by this million people. And even more importantly, Google Maps, and it's mentioned hundreds of times every day on the reports and news and the radio, traffic reports. The Google Bridge is doing well. The Google Bridge is backed up. Imagine that every single day. Would they pay that? Of course they would. These are companies that spend billions of dollars in advertising, billions on marketing every single year. And I'm saying, here's a way to give us some money. But not just that. Since we retain the asset, we still inspect the asset. Across New York State now, today, bridges collapse. That happens in New York State. Bridges collapse. But once it's the Google Bridge, it won't collapse. Why? We'll inspect it. Part of their fee will include maintenance. It goes down to a B or C level, you lose the contract. You better fix it. And you have to pay in advance, by the way. So you lose all that money you put down. Gone. Fix the bridge. Safer bridges, we don't have to pay for, we make money. Here's the best part. If we have the bridge being safe and repaired and paying for it, why tolls? No need for tolls. Tolls go away. Some of the bridges downstate, one time to cross a bridge, 16 bucks. One time to cross a bridge, 16 bucks. That's actually helping the middle class. That's helping owner-operator truck drivers. That's bringing down everything, bringing it all down. That's a way to raise money. People got mad at me. Larry, how come you're not a tax cutter? Why are you talking about cutting taxes? What did I tell them? Does it make sense to cut taxes if I don't cut spending? If I just cut taxes, I either increase our debt or someone else pays my tax burden. So I don't hit you on sales tax, hit you on property tax. Hit you on property tax, hit you on some other tax. So instead we lower spending or find other ways of raising money. Well, wow, you're the only one who thought of that? Sadly, yes. And why? Because to what people don't understand, the people who are career politicians, who all they know is politics, the only answer they have is raising taxes. Why? Because they're dumb? No, because they just don't know any better. The only answer they could possibly have is tax, fines, or fees. But Larry, what about the roads? Remember my idea for the roads? For the actual roads. How do you fix the actual roads? I got potholes in my town, Larry. I got potholes all over the place. I know. Who's fixing potholes right now? Domino's Pizza. I'm not joking. They fix the pothole, and over the pothole, they put their symbol on it. Literally. So how about instead what I do is instead of me worrying about getting the government to pay more to fix potholes, I let Domino's fix my potholes if they want to. I give them here's the guidelines, so you fix it. If you do it right, you can put your symbol on it. What happens when their symbol starts going all over the roads? What happens at that point? Come on, guys, think what happens. You see, every time you're driving around, you keep seeing a bunch of Domino's pizzas running around. Say again?
It's marketing.
It is marketing, correct. So what's going to happen? You're right, that's marketing. So that's what's going to happen.
They get the business.
They get the business, then what happens? Pizza Hut wants to do it. That's exactly right, yes. They go, well, wait a minute, I can't let Domino's get all the business. Pizza Hut's got to do it too. And so does McDonald's and the Burger King or whoever. So now we don't have to put it on the road anymore. We simply have them have stretches of road. We already have this. It's called Adopt the Highway for cleaning. This is not crazy. We do it already. So now we have Adopt the Highway for fixing the roads. But Larry, you understand it's a problem. Because if Domino's is fixing the rich people roads, they won't fix the poor people roads. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard all the time. I think poor people, rich people, everyone likes pizza. I think everybody orders pizza. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. And Domino's will not want to fix poor people roads. Maybe that's true. Am I saying we should fire all the people who fix the roads? No, we can keep them. Just don't raise the budget for them. And now what can they do? They can fix the roads that Domino's won't fix. So the poor people still get better service. Poor people get better service. Everyone gets equal service. No extra taxes, no extra fees. But Larry, if all of a sudden Domino's and McDonald's and Pepsi's fixing all the roads, all those people who fix roads will lose their jobs. No, they won't. Who's going to hire them? The people fixing the roads, correct. Pizza Hut and McDonald's, they're just hiring those people. Right now, people who work for Pizza Hut, McDonald's, and Pepsi, they don't know how to fix roads. So they have to hire people to fix roads. So the people still keep their jobs. We just won't be paying for it. We just won't be paying for it. This is what we can do. And these are innovative ideas that pop up all the time when your mindset is not in the mindset of, I have to raise money so government will do it. When your mindset is in the mindset of, how do I solve my problem without spending extra money? When that's your mindset, you can actually fix things. And the only party that thinks that way is the Libertarian Party. The only movement that even could imagine such things is the Liberty Movement. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm crossing the state. And I'm lucky today. I have with me someone running for our state assembly. Running for our state assembly who does want to fix things. Maybe not roads, but I know he wants to fix things. I'm 100% sure. I'm going to have him come up for a few minutes. Please help me out. Man himself, Charles Senrick.
Hi, all. Thank you, Larry, for not only for being here, but for all the tireless effort you put in to spread the message of liberty throughout the state and throughout the country. It's nice to see you all here. And I'm Charles Senrick, and I'm running for the 107th District of the Assembly. And my favorite expression of expressing the libertarian ideal is 4 simple words: don't tread on anyone.
Yes, yes.
And basically, we have seen this government, especially since the coronavirus hit town, has been treading all over everybody.
Yes.
Prior to that, we already were projected to have billions of dollars in deficit, and now it's much expected to be much greater than that, to the point where our governor is basically begging the federal government to give us more money. So basically, what I believe is that we need to change the dynamic of state government, and actually federal also, that they should be trying to protect people's rights so that we can live our lives as we choose, rather than to actually run our lives through taking our money, more laws which are designed to protect us from ourselves, and regulations which keep us, tell us basically how to live and how to interact with each other. And I think my belief is that this is part of why we are so divided at this point in time, because government basically has inserted themselves in people's relationships and interactions with each other. So we have a lot of problems, and basically we have to work together to try to get solutions to it, rather than cookie cutter. Both of the other parties have their ideas on, you know, we believe this and the other party believes this. Well, we believe basically in solving problems, not just doing what we have in our mind is what needs to be done. So I believe that while some parties say back the blue, I say without hesitation that I back liberty and justice for all.
Nice. Thank you so much, Charles. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. You brought up a lot of valid points. I think one of the biggest things that he brought up was the idea of, look at the horrible deficits that we have, right? What was our deficit in New York State? I think it was $6 billion deficit before COVID, and now 60 billion after, or something like that. I think my numbers are right. How do you bail that out every year? Are we gonna write checks for, is the federal government gonna write checks for $60 billion for the next 10 years in a row? And we're one of 50 states. How do we fix that? Right? It's virtually impossible. What are you doing so far? For those of you paying attention, and those of you who are not in New York, you might be thinking, well, that's stupid New York. You're next. So I'm saying, if you're watching, you're next. What's New York doing? New York's cutting education, right? Cutting infrastructure, defunding police, as you say. But something else they're doing. They're cutting Medicaid, Medicare. Oh my God, how can we do that? The world's gonna end, right? Now with COVID, gotta have Medicare for all, or COVID will kill us all, right? Obviously, I'm teasing, I'm joking. But the idea is there's a fear there. A fear that if we begin to cut, then what do? If we cut, the only answer is the federal government. So I guess the only answer now is getting rid of all insurance companies and having the federal government run our healthcare. as well as it runs, say, the VA. Yeah. Thank you. Boo, I'm a veteran. I get that. For those of you who know, Medicare for all isn't Medicare for all. It's VA for all. And if you're a veteran, you may not be happy about that. Right? Don't get me wrong. There are some gems in the VA system, there's no question. As a general rule, if you have a minor issue like you hurt your arm or you hurt your leg, VA is not bad. But anything long-standing, VA struggles. It's not the right system. It's a government-run system which is failing. That's for sure. So what's a libertarian answer? Again, we are very lucky. There are many answers, but I have one person here today who's running for office. She's running for Congress. She's going to talk to you about plans, how to fix Medicaid, Medicare, all those ideas. She's going to bring up some good ideas for us to think about right now. The woman who's running for Congress here in New York, Victoria Alexander.
Well, I'm going to be talking about my plan for voluntary health for all, opposed to mandatory meds for all plan. Now, a lot of times the government has good intentions. With the COVID, we saw examples of the federal government coming up or the state governments coming up with ideas of how to protect all of us. Well, sometimes they come up with really bad ideas. I was overseas in Russia when the lockdown hit, and I got a call. I was working with a Fulbright grant, basically working for the State Department. State Department calls me up and says, Victoria, get on a plane and go home. And I thought, during a pandemic, you want everyone that's living abroad to get on a plane and go home? That's not what you do. That seems like a bad idea. The government was also saying no one should wear masks ever, at all. Masks were bad. I disobeyed the government and I wore a mask on the subway. When we were crowded like this and somebody would go, I wore a mask. You think for yourself. The government is not always right. So if we have any kind of government controlled health, then doctors will be listening to the government. Doctors will have to follow procedures that are decided by bureaucrats and politicians and follow what the voters of the moment want. We don't want that. We need in this country, we need a separation of business and state.
Yes.
Right now, similar to the separation of religion and state. It's very important because corporations have gotten so big and powerful that they're basically like the church in the Middle Ages. If we have a separation, right now we have healthcare that's so tied to insurance that the insurance companies basically create the laws and now everyone is forced to buy insurance. What about people who wanted catastrophic insurance, only to kick in if you have $30,000 in expenses or something, and you want to pay out of pocket for the little stuff? That would have kept everyone's medical costs down because most people would never have to use that insurance. It never would have to kick in. But we're not allowed to buy that kind of insurance anymore because the government tells us what kind of insurance can be sold and what kind of insurance we can buy. So libertarians say, get rid of the regulations on insurance companies. And people think, oh no, you have to regulate the insurance companies because they'll take advantage of us otherwise. No, the opposite is happening. We're being forced to buy this bad product and bad service. So I believe that we need a business sector operating completely independently of the government, following laws. If anybody harms anyone, they deserve to be prosecuted. Okay, so government is still involved in regulating any corporation to that extent. If they harm someone, they're liable. We have to have separate business, separate government, and nonprofit. We have 3 different branches of society, and they all need to function independently of each other. And let me just tell you what my plan is for that aspect of the government run, the public healthcare, and how it could be provided without taxing everybody and making you pay for his healthcare. I call it voluntary health for all. And first of all, everyone would be covered, no insurance middleman. Medical benefits would not be tied to employment. So many corporations are able to hang on to employees because they don't want to leave because they have health insurance.
Yeah.
That really discourages people from going out on their own and starting their own business. New businesses are the lifeblood of America and where innovation comes. And that is really squashed when you're afraid to leave your job because you lose your insurance. You should have a choice to pay for private health care, public or nonprofit health care. Basically, the charity hospitals they've disappeared now. They used to handle so much of the health care for the poor. In the Medical for All, the Med for All plan, you don't pay any copays and no out-of-pocket fees for those small businesses when you show up, and there's no deductible. Sounds great, but it's expensive. And also, when you're not paying for that small service, you don't look at the bill. Who knows what they're charging the insurance company or the government? That's where the price inflation comes from. So I want everybody to pay out of pocket when they go for the small stuff. Sliding scale fees, because we have so much disparity right now that's created by the crony capitalism. So we need sliding scales at least for a while until society evens itself out. Up to a deductible amount that would be about what you would pay annually for the Medicare for All. So you pay out of pocket until you hit a point. And at that point, catastrophic care might be covered by taxes on products that damage public health in some way. Provided, of course, that all other sales tax have been completely eliminated and most other tax too. And here's the part that's hard to explain to a lot of people because it is really different, but Larry touched on it. Government has assets. Government can build bridges and roads, and those are money-making assets. And we should look at them that way. And Larry has some ideas there. The US government used to have the sole right to create US dollars, fiat dollars, could just create them. Gave that right away to the bankers. The Federal Reserve is a private banking industry. The banking industry gets to create the money that then they use to make money to make loans.
Ooh.
That's crazy. That happened at midnight, right before Christmas in 1913, when everyone was home in bed asleep. We have to stop that and take back the right to create currency. And when we do that, how do we back the currency? Because we don't have much gold. We don't want to create currency to pay someone to dig up gold and then put the gold in Fort Knox or New York or wherever. Create new dollars to build infrastructure, like world-class hospitals. World-class hospitals with the best equipment. Then that money that we create is backed with the value of that infrastructure. And people can walk in the door and pay modest fees to use those services and pay for those services, pay for the materials. And America is a more prosperous country because it has this valuable infrastructure that we can all use. Businesses save money now because they don't have to pay insurance for their employees. It's a win-win. And public hospitals can operate alongside private hospitals and charity hospitals. There's a place for everything. And if we don't have all three sectors working at a time, there isn't checks and balances. If we only have private hospitals, then they're going to collude together and hike up their prices if we have no choices. But if we have choices between charity, public, and private, then they can balance each other out. And I'll just say one last thing. When government is in control of healthcare, they can decide things like mandatory vaccination. And they can go over your head and maybe even force you to take an experimental vaccine. This is coming. This is very, very serious. We don't want mandatory medical procedures of any kind. That violates our human rights because there may be monetary, financial motives. There may be ignorance at some level of these people who are making decisions. Decisions for your health care need to be made by you together with your doctor and other medical professionals and researchers. Those are the only people that should be involved in any decision about your health. And never let the insurance industry get in between you and your doctor. Never let the government get in between you and your doctor. Thank you very much. And this is my website so that you can go and donate so that I can have more of these flyers printed out and more signs to put up along the roads. directdemocracyus.org. directdemocracyus.org. Thank you, Victoria Alexander. Thank you. I had a question.
So I interpret your proposal for issuing money against infrastructure as a force of improvement on the fiat system we have now. My question is, being that not all infrastructure is valued the same way, think of the bridge to nowhere, for instance, how would the money issued be valued exactly? I mean, how would it work?
Well, right now, we already have the problem of local governments making decisions about infrastructure being built, and then it goes to somebody's pocket, and bridges to nowhere are built. What we need, at the local level, it's easier for people to keep an eye on their government. If your local community is going to get a new bridge or a new school, then your local community can see all of the expenses, how the contract is laid out, what's being done, and you can come and you can vote on things and you can raise your voice and you can have some control over it. Right now, compared to what's going on at the Federal Reserve, Congress hasn't even been able to audit the Federal Reserve. So comparatively, the local community can have more control of it. But absolutely, there will be corruption, and that's why you can never sleep as citizens and voters. You have to keep your eye on things. But we already have this problem, and so it'll just take a different form, but people have to come out and watch and see what's going on.
Thank you. Yeah, what did you just hear? An answer. An answer. Now you might say, well, Larry, I don't like your bridge answer. Or Victoria, I don't like your hospital answer. Whatever. You might say any of those things, right? Charles, I don't like where you're going with that answer. You might say that. I get it. But at least it's an answer. Which means now we can talk it through. Now we can tweak it and fix it and start moving forward. Now we can stop just using rhetoric and yelling at each other and insulting each other. We can actually start moving forward. That's the most important piece. And note, every time we talk, not one of us said, and then we'll raise taxes, and then you'll pay more, and then we'll force you. That didn't happen. None of that happened, because that's not how we think. But there's an important piece that Victoria just brought up. The idea of government now forcing you to do things, changing how you think and what you do, locking you up in your home, right? Forcing you to take a vaccine, whatever the case may be. Government overreaching like that. A lot of people now, because of the COVID epidemic or the COVID crisis, have allowed government to do a whole lot. And we've just said, thank you, sir, may I have another? That's all we've done. We've allowed it to happen again and again. And then when your business collapses, your neighborhood collapses with extra violence, or you lose your job, what do you say? You know, COVID took my job. COVID destroyed my business. COVID trashed my neighborhood. That's not true. COVID's real. It affects people, and it hurts people, and it kills some people. It does. But it doesn't kill business. It doesn't kill your job. It doesn't destroy your neighborhood. Only government can do that. So COVID didn't destroy your job. COVID didn't get rid of your business. COVID didn't do all those things. The government response did all those things. Don't ever forget that. That's what did all those things. And I'm also lucky again, I have somebody here running for, is it town judge, is that right? Town justice here. Someone running who is going to talk a little bit about government overreach and those types of things. And that man here is Phil Vecchio.
Thank you all very much for having me here, especially on last minute notice. As a town justice candidate, as a judicial candidate, I'm limited as to how much I can say politically, and partisanship and all of that. So I've got to be very careful because of the judicial ethics. But if I tell you a little bit about myself, I think you might know where I come from and the son I raised. Might tell you a little bit about me. First of all, I'm an attorney and I'm a certified public accountant. We talk about accounting and auditing, and we talk about accountability. Now, one of the things I have a real problem with is executive orders issued by fiat,
Yes.
okay, without due process.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so that's a big issue for me. I can tell you I'm a strict constructionist. I believe in the Constitution. If you don't like what's in the Constitution, there's a procedure for amending it. Okay, it's not, well, we can just write it out of, you know, we can look in a penumbra and come up with some things. No, you don't like it, there's a procedure. We talk about accountability. Again, as a CPA as well as an attorney, we look at, you know, what are we spending this money for? Who is accountable for it? Unelected judges, are they accountable? No, okay? The governor's orders, he just issued an order getting into the relationship between landlord and tenant, both commercial and residential, and said, well, the first order was in March, and now the moratorium on evictions or late fees on rent, whether it's commercial or residential, is now extended from March all the way up till October 20th. Now, these are private parties. They should have the ability to negotiate and transact their own business, okay? And the only thing a judge should be doing is calling balls and strikes like an umpire and not getting involved in it politically. And the governor should not be getting involved in it politically either. I think this is a fundamental. We're taking personal property without due process. And I have a real problem with that. There's another issue I have a problem with, and that's this quarantining people who are coming from out of state. Just like everyone here, I came in with a mask because I thought I was cool. You know, I've been trained properly to come in with a mask, okay? Although most of the time I do forget. And I applaud all of you for exercising your freedom and not wearing it. And that's why I'm not wearing it anymore either. I think it's an intrusion upon our personal choices and our personal life. And I don't believe it's government's authority to do that. Otherwise, we don't live in the United States of America. If you're a United States citizen and you want to travel from any state to New York State or vice versa, you should be able to do so freely. That's where I'm coming from. I'm also a born-again Christian, and that's where I'm coming from. You have free will, and you're accountable for that. You're accountable to your maker, in my case, Jesus Christ, for my free will and what I do and what I don't do. And if I commit a tort, if I accidentally, if I go out and drive drunk and I hit somebody and I kill somebody, well, I'm accountable under the system of laws for both, you know, for the personal injury, both criminally and civilly. And that's the way it should be. We should have personal accountability, and we're totally lacking that anymore as individuals. So therefore, we become what? Lazy. all right? And we think government's going to take care of everything for us. Government's not capable of taking care of everything for us. That's what we have to do. And I thank you all for listening to me. Hope I haven't bored you at all.
All good. Man, are we lucky, and one of the reasons why you see me doing this is because we have to understand, while of course this is a presidential election year, of course it is, and I hope you all vote Joe Jorgensen for president, that'd be amazing. There's also hundreds of local candidates running throughout this entire country, trying to make change at a local level. This is our year to vote gold. Now, last night, some of you happened to watch my Sharpe show last night, which is not affiliated with this libertarian, totally separate entities. So in any case, right, so yes, if you happen to see the show that I did yesterday, someone wrote a comment, and they asked a serious question, and I answered it. And the comment was, or question was, isn't this year really the most important year, right? And this person is a Trump supporter who wrote this. And he said, look, the Democrats are scary, and don't we want to vote Trump this year so that we can stop the Democrats? It's the most important. Now isn't the time. Don't you care about your country? Aren't you a patriot? Don't you want to vote Trump this year? And he wasn't trying to be a jerk. This is his honest opinion. That's what he believes. And I responded honestly. I understood his concern. I did. My response was, okay, if this is the toughest year ever, the hardest year ever, and if it's true, the Democrats is the worst it's ever been, and Trump is the only guy who can save us, if that's true, what will change 4 years from now? 4 years from now, will it all of a sudden be, oh, well, now the throwaway election? Is that going to happen? At what point is it a throwaway election? That point never happens. If he's right, and I don't believe he's correct, and I'll explain why in a second, but if he's right, and this is the end of the world, well, isn't 4 years from now going to be even harder? Let's say Trump saves us from the evil Democrats. He's right. He does. If Trump wins this election, a Democrat's going to go, oh, well, Trump won. That's it. We all believe in Trump now. Is that going to happen? Of course not. If Trump wins this election, I don't know who's going to win. I don't trust any of the numbers. To me, it's a toss-up. I know some people are 100% sure who's going to win. To me, it's a toss-up. I have no idea. But say Trump wins, Democrats are going to go further left, aren't they? In response. Let's say Trump loses. The Republicans go, oh, great, now we're all Democrats. Is that what happens? Of course not. They get angry and want to go further right. They're going to keep fighting either way. What's the way to begin to stop that? It's to vote gold. It's to vote libertarian. If you notice, anyone watching, all you out there, you probably came from either left or right, is my assumption. Some of you didn't. You probably came from one or the other. You watching probably came from left or right. Some of you I know are Republicans or Democrats watching. I'm sure of that. I've met you. Don't try to lie. So I know so many of you are. But was anything that you heard today so crazy, so insane, that if it happened, it would destroy your lifestyle in any way, shape, or form? No. In fact, each one was an idea that might actually make your life better. Each one was, whether you're Republican or Democrat. The reason why Republicans are so afraid of Democrats is because they're worried Democrats will enforce their will upon them. They're right. The reason why Democrats are so afraid of Republicans is they're afraid Republicans will force their will upon them. They're right. You don't have to be afraid of us, because at no point are we going to enforce our will upon you, ever. We will allow you to be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be. Just don't force your view on others. That's what we do. If you're saying to yourself, but Larry, I'm super conservative. Great. Do you believe it is the job of the government to enforce your will upon others, to ensure we have a more conservative society? If you go, yeah, it's government's job, Republican. If you say, no, it isn't the government's job, it's my job, through my works, through my example, through my community, to convince the world to be more conservative as it should be. Libertarian. Oh, but I'm not, because I'm super liberal. Okay, got it, you're liberal. Is it the government's job to enforce your view upon others, to make us have a more liberal society? If you go, sure is, Democrat. If you go, no, it is my job, through my works, through my example, through my community, to convince people to be more liberal, you're libertarian. There is a difference. And I would ask you, what other movement can heal like that? No movement can. Is Biden going to heal this country if he wins? No. Is Trump going to heal this country if he wins?
No.
No. Neither is. Neither is going to heal the country. But let me give you a real life example. Critical example that will wrap everything up together that actually happened this year. The death of George Floyd. When George Floyd was killed, what happened? The right said, back the blue, cops are perfect gods who never make errors ever. And what did the left say? Defund the police, cops are evil and bad, they're all racist. Both are wrong, but they yelled rhetoric. Who was going to solve the problem? No one. One person. One person had an answer. Anybody know who that person was? Justin Amash, who is the only libertarian congressperson we have. Justin Amash. Once that happened, the libertarian, we have one in Congress. He's the one. He came up with an idea, a small bill, less than 10 pages long, which talked about ending qualified immunity for police officers. That was a part of a plan to make things better. It didn't punish police, didn't defund police, it didn't back the blue. It just said, hey, there's a problem. Let's try to fix this. Here's an answer. And the best part is he went across the aisle to Democrats and Republicans and said, hey, do you guys want to back this? And he actually got Democrats and Republicans to back it. It was the first tripartisan bill ever. Happened this year. Happened this year. And then what happened? The House didn't vote on it. It's true. But there was an actual plan to fix things. A bill that went up that could have been debated and changed and adjusted, and a plan could have come for that to make things better for our police force and for our citizens. That could have actually happened. Only libertarian can do that, and did that. I'm not saying you're wrong at all, brother. I'm not. All I'm saying is there was an answer. Right? All I'm saying is, I'm not saying it would have worked either. I don't know. I'm agreeing with this. The Supreme Court was supposed to see it, and they didn't see it either. My point being, there was an actual answer that happened. Could you imagine if we had more libertarians like that in our local assemblies, in our state senates, in Congress? What if we had 2, 3, or 4? Well, Larry, we'll never take over the Congress. We don't have to. Could you imagine if we had 4 senators? Just 4. We control the Senate because we'd be the swing vote. With just 4. We don't need 26. We don't need 51. We don't need 30, 70. 4. That's all we need. This is the healing that this country needs. His point was a valid one. We're worried, oh my God. Well, why do I think it's not the end of the world? Because Obama and Biden were in charge in 2008, and they had 2 years where Democrats controlled everything. They didn't end the world. Trump had control. 2016, for 2 years, he had the Congress. He didn't end the world. Democrats, Republicans don't want to end the world. They want to rule it. They don't want to end it. They want to slowly crush it and put it under their boot more and more and more until there's almost nothing left and they can control the rubble. Slowly but surely they crush it. It's not going to end. It's not going to happen. And if Biden wins, the world's not going to end. If Trump wins, the world's not going to end. But eventually, there will at one point be an election, which will be the Abraham Lincoln election. That will happen eventually. It's not this year, but there will be an election that will eventually push us to a point of civil war. That will happen at one point. Is that 4 years from now or 40 years from now? I have no idea. But we're on the road. You all know it. Right now, politics literally tears families apart. You all know it. It tears families apart right now. Eventually, it will tear us apart if we don't heal. Now is the year to vote gold. Because here's one thing I am 100% sure of. Whether Trump wins or loses in November, there are going to be tens of millions of unhappy Americans in this country. Either left or right, depending upon who wins, they're going to be unhappy. Where are they going to go? If we build out this party and vote gold this year, they will come to us. That's what I want. Come to us. We can make this happen. We are the way that we can heal this nation. We are the way that we can make this nation actually grow and not fall into a terrible place. You all feel it. We can stop it. It's the liberty movement that will heal us. You saw 3 people here talking about healing. and making things better. This year, vote gold. Thank you.